This is an Usul from Neopets. This is an Usuki doll, which is if Barbie was in Neopets. And I will be making this little Usuki into a real doll, hopefully. At least today I'll be making a 3D model of her, which I can turn into a real doll in the future. Or you can, if you download it. Welcome artists, and art appreciators to Art of Lore. This is the 9th video in my 12 Days of Toys, despite being fairly late at this point. I have a ton of stuff left to show you that I sculpted in December, and I still need to post. Sorry for the delays, there were holidays, and then family health stuff, and now I'm sick, so the smooth has taken up residence in my vocal cords, but I'm getting better enough to be recording my voiceovers again. If you've seen the rest of my series, you might remember on day 4 when I said that I kind of wanted to make an Usuki doll. And you may be thinking, what excellent foreshadowing. But no, this was not planned when I decided to make this series and when I made that video. For whatever reason, I didn't have a model prepared for day 9 specifically. I knew what I was going to do for day 10, 11, 12, and I had done all of the rest of the days. But the idea for an Usul kept sticking in my head. I finished this right before I left to go on the holiday trip, around the 22nd, I think, and I posted it to my Ko-fi, knowing full well that I might not be able to make this video until January because I had very little time between getting back from my trip and January, and then as soon as I got back I got sick. So a bit more about Usukis if you aren't aware of Neopets lore. I may mispronounce, fair warning, this word because I pronounce it Usuki in my head. I also say Usul in my head. It's not supposed to be pronounced that way, but I started playing Neopets as a child, and you pretty much just pronounce things however you read them. So in my head I think Usuki and Usul, but I'm trying very hard for this video to pronounce it per the official Neopets pronunciation, which is Usul, and presumably Usuki to match the Usul, because Usukis are Usuls. Anyways, as I said in my Aisha video, which also I'm pronouncing that wrong, it's called Aisha, not Aisha. We're not even gonna touch that. Anyways, I started playing Neopets again recently, and I decided to start collecting the Usuki dolls, since collecting random things is like 50% of the point of Neopets anyways. You can display collections of items in your gallery to like flex on other players, although I don't have any that are really fancy yet. Usuki dolls have been around for almost all of Neopets history, and there are so many of them, some of which cost millions of Neopoints, aka the in-game currency. And don't even at me about the millions of Neopoints being not that much because I've always been really poor in Neopets. In-universe, Usukis were created by Rue Handler, a bloomeroo, and are considered posable figures as opposed to plushies or other types of toys. You can get Usul plushies, and you can even get the extremely rare Usuki plushies, but they are separate things from the Usuls. In my head, they're more like Barbie structurally, I guess, with like the bendy limbs and made of vinyl. Although you can also get vinyl Usukis, which are a little bit different, but anyways. The rare plushie Usukis are mostly from grab bags from the yearly Usuki Cons, which is a mini event where Usukis are introduced, and the aforementioned bags will give you a selection of random rare items that I learned a lot about Usukis from the podcast Neopian Lore, which I highly recommend if you want to brush up on your Neopian lore. And I think that person is also doing blog posts now, which I have to go check out because I do tend to read blogs. When deciding how to make my own Usuki doll, I knew I wanted to be far more anthropomorphic than the original character, to give it more posing options, and because it's just more close to my style and my aesthetic. I put up a poll for my followers on Tumblr for advice on how their legs should be in particular, between having a more anthropomorphic rabbit type style and having the legs straight up and down, like a human, aka digitigrade versus plantigrade legs. Here are some of the reference images of Usul that I picked out. If you didn't know, every Neopet basically has an animal Neopet form that is often quadruped or more squat, like the squirrel body of an Usul. However, Neopians in the world of Neopia, like the shopkeepers and the other characters in Neopet stories and comics, are usually drawn as like furries. This ranges from like Looney Tunes upright cartoon animals to like Zootopia furbait tiger on the bus so that everybody compares to Tony the Tiger. really just humanoid figures with animal heads and tails. As you can see, there's no consistency in the anthropomorphic style Neopets are drawn in. Like, Uni are just winged unicorns, and they're drawn sometimes with hands, and most often with hooves, even if they're, like, standing upright like a human, they'll just have hooves instead of hands. But the most, like, popular Uni, or most, like, I guess, seen Uni, has, like, hands, which is just really weird. Also, this isn't really relevant to Usukis, but when I was looking at information about the Anthrop version of Neopets, I found a Reddit thread where someone posted a size chart of all the Neopets, and I found out that my Zuitalk is like 20 centimeters tall, and Usul are canonically like 75 centimeters tall. And it's unclear whether the anthroforms match these heights, or whether Zuitalk and Kachik are running around Neopia like hamsters in Zootopia. Just a thing to think about. Anyways, back to the poll. It was pretty overwhelmingly voted that the digitigrade legs would make more sense on the character, just like aesthetically, and I agree that they look better generally speaking, although I felt a little disappointed because they don't match the typical Neopet style where the legs are just like normal human legs with paws on the bottom. Although honestly, I did draft that in the 3D modeling software later on, and I decided it looked pretty bad, so I'm glad that everybody agreed that the digitigrade legs would be better. So, digitigrade, by the way, means walking on the toes and ball of, like the front half of your foot, like the back legs of a cat look like. This changes how you think about the ball joints working on a doll like this. On a typical character with single jointed legs, the ball joint would be where the knee would be, like that's the simplest way to do it. But for the digitigrade legs, it makes a little more sense to put it at the top of the heel. Remember, as high off the ground as the animal is more or less walking on its tippy toes. The actual knee is sculpted into the bottom of the top of the legs. This design in particular is more akin to how a fursuit style of leg looks. In order to try and help with balance, a fursuit has to accommodate a straight up and down human leg, so the knee is protruding at the front, which is basically an illusion. Like, it just makes it look as if it's a digitigrade leg instead of plantigrade, which is what humans are. So I wanted to limit the detail on this, and I just included that one joint in the leg and not a joint at the bottom to move the toes, because I also thought that that might make it a little less balanced. Yeah, I'm not really sure if that was necessary, but it definitely helped simplify and like streamline how the character's legs are made. Other than the uncertainty about the legs, I felt pretty confident about what I wanted to do for the rest of the doll. The ears, tail, and even chest piece are similar to the sculpting I did in my customized Delightful Bunny ball jointed doll. At followers' suggestion, I made the chest piece removable, the fluff around the neck, and the tail very small compared to the actual Usul because of balance reasons. The consensus seemed to be, and I agree, that most people would prefer making a large wire and faux fur tail and like fur ruff. So those pieces are basically optional, and the doll can easily be modified for however people want to make it. So it is a complete Usul doll, like the 3D model is a complete Usul doll, but I think ideally people would want to do these like slight variations with like wire and faux fur and stuff to more accurately match how you imagine the character being. It's also important that the ruff is removable because the clothing should be tucked like underneath it a little, because that's how it is in the original character. There are so many Usukis. I'm not sure what kind of Usuki I would make if and when I print this model. Like I said, most of my Usuki that I actually have on Neopets aren't that rare, except for like Summertime Usuki, who didn't cost a lot of money, but is technically one of the Usuki-Cons versions. But I guess one of the most fun things about Usuki is how absurd a lot of them are. Since Usuki are a parody of Barbie, there are a lot that are exactly what you expect. The main and most iconic Usuki is Magical Hair Usuki, which boasts that it has magical hair that will regrow. I guess toy gimmicks are a lot more impressive in a world with magic. And then you have Usuki like Prom Queen Usuki, Artistic Usuki, Singing Star Usuki. There are clothing sets, which you can't actually put on your Usuki doll. Sadly, they're just images. Like the karaoke set, queen set, doctor set, and play sets like Usuki Dream Car and Usuki Dream Castle, which by the way says, your Usuki can have a prince, ponies, and all the jewels she wants in the description, which makes me think this might be an intentional reference to the My Little Pony Dream Castle from Generation 1, but maybe that's wishful thinking on my part. You also have Usuki based on the many Neopets characters, ranging from the most famous Usul, Hannah, whose doll is only called Usuki Pirate Wench, as many Hannah fans including myself, are still salty about. Also, like, most of her games are broken, and everyone's mad about it. The Hannah games were like, they were my childhood. Neopy and Laura talked about them a little bit, and I just remember the Hannah Usul games, like, really well also. Sorry, I got sidetracked. All of the fairies have Usuki versions. The fairies look like humans with, like, magic wings, but there aren't any actual humans in Neopets, and so the Usuki dolls that look like them just look like Usul. And then there are even a lot of different characters, like King Scarl Usuki, who... King Scarl is a different species of character, but he has been turned into a Usul for the Usuki doll. And I guess that's kind of like the equivalent to George Washington Barbie, so I don't know, except if George Washington was, like, still alive. Unclear. A little strange. And then there's, like, Usuki that are just hilarious because they're, like, the most niche kind of Barbie concepts. Like, there's, like, fly fishing Usuki and paleontologist Usuki. Which, like, okay, fair, there's a paleontologist Barbie. But there's, like, traditional Welsh Usuki. Goody Two-Shoes Usuki is literally a nun. There's a clothing set that's Usuki shipwreck set. Why get graduate Usuki or summer fun Usuki when you could get mime Usuki or gondolier Usuki? It's like, what if there was gondolier Barbie? Usuki don't monopolize the market on dolls, though, because they have a competitor, the Quiguki. I didn't look up how to pronounce that one at all, so I'm just gonna roll with it. As Usukis are based off Usuls, the Quiguki are based off the Quiggle, which is this little frog Neopet that originally looked like this when introduced in the year 2000. It's really cute. It looks more like a proper little anthropomorphic frog nowadays. There are far fewer Quiguki items than Usuki items, and far fewer Quiguki overall. There's like 400 Usuki items and Usukis, and only like 70 Quiguki. They're considered uglier than Usuki in universe and are less popular, although many of them are actually quite expensive and rare on the Neopets market, particularly the beautiful hair Quiguki, who is obviously a bootleg of the magical hair Usuki. I really want that one. I don't think any of my subs on here would know this, because I guess I started my YouTube channel after this, but I really like anthropomorphic frogs. I started writing and drawing a webcomic about a frog princess, and only got like a few pages in, years ago, but I have a lot of art from it and its, I guess, development. In fact, one of the things that got me into sculpting a few years ago was creating a clay model of my frog princess as an art reference, so I could figure out the shape of her face a little bit better. I can't guarantee that I'll get to it anytime soon, but I would love to make a variation on the Usuki doll with a Quiguki head and some modifications to the feet and hands. I imagine that Quiguki can share clothes with Usuki, so they would be very similar shapes, but like I said, the hands would have to be different. The fact that only Usul and Quiggle seem to have their own dolls, plus that single Shoiruki Usuki doll, which is a Shoiru, brings up some questions regarding the species in Neopet society. Sometimes Usul are dressed up as other species, such as the fairies or the character dolls like Scratch Card Walkie Usuki, who has like a little walkie ear headband. But like, do Child Kugra just get no representation in the doll aisle? They get plushies but no fashion dolls. Does this make like legless Kiko and armless Jub Jub children feel saddened? Or like Corbat and Drake children are confused by the lack of like wings on their dolls? That being said, the Neopets brain has never been particularly culturally sensitive when it comes to real cultures or people, so I don't expect that the social and political implications of different Neopet species would have occurred to them. But I don't know, it seems like the Neopets team has reconsidered at least some of their old wording on the site. So it would be interesting if the Usuki line evolved with the times and became incorporating other species. Or I actually spent all this time making this whole other little line prompt, which is creating the rainbow Palukis, which are all sorts of species. They're based off the Rainbow High line, which is a competitor to Barbie. And I don't know, I thought it would be a funny parallel because brands like Bratz and Rainbow High made by MGA that competed with Mattel were kind of known for beating Barbie in the diversity department during many of the first years they were created. And so I thought it would be funny if there was like an MGA competitor that created like multiple species of dolls. And then the Usuki company, just like Barbie responded with creating more diverse characters, the Usuki company would have to create more diverse Usukis. Just an idea, Neopets. I want some, like, really complex toy line drama within the universe of Neopets. I think you could, like, do some fun Mattel MGA, like, legal battles and just put that in the Neopets universe, complete with, like, corporate espionage as, like, a mini game or something. Just some ideas, if you need any. You're welcome. I'm sorry, I got off topic. Since the Usul and the Quiggle are bipedal Neopets, I think the competing franchise should focus on a diverse array of quadrupeds. Suggesting Uni would be far too predictable for me. Oh my god, what if it was Uni? See, like, that's why, like, it's a unicorn. I won't call it an unicorn. So why is it called an Usul instead of a Usul? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know, my pronunciation it has issues. Anyways, my vote is making either like cow or poogle the main species for this new line, and other unique species, like you should include hissy, because most of the canonical hissies are like scary monsters, which like that's messed up. Personally, as a snake-loving biologist, I think that we should have a friendly hissy character. There are some, like, action figures of some other species, but I want these fashion dolls to be more consistent with themed clothing sets that can be shared between characters of a similar body type. I don't know. Let me know which Neopet needs its own fashion doll spin-off from Magical Games Aisha Entertainment. I don't know. Anyways, rant aside, here we go to the final reveal. Sorry I didn't tell you anything about me making this doll. These videos have just kind of turned into me like rambling a little bit and then editing the footage. You can let me know if you want more like details or anything, but I did go through the effort of scripting out all my ideas for Neopets things, and I just didn't really feel like putting a bunch of stuff in the script about what I actually did. For some of these 12 days videos, I had not done scripts or anything. They were all meant to be pretty loosey-goosey, but honestly, since I've been sick for several days, I had time to write out a bunch of stuff, and then now I have to say it out loud, and I went on several tangents that were not written down, so here we are. Okay, here's the reveal. I'm actually doing it now. I'm doing it. Before I went on my holiday trip, I finished up the joints as best as I could and posted this to my Ko-fi. I did adjust the joints a couple days ago based on feedback from one of my other dolls, and I posted that to my Ko-fi too. I will eventually be posting it to my Cult 3D. I don't know when, maybe once I get it test printed or once someone test prints it. I am not sure, because it's such a complex piece. I don't know if I want to like release it into the world without knowing that it can be printed. And that's kind of what my Ko-fi is for right now, is like, you know, people can get stuff early before I have to like finalize everything. If you've gotten to this point in the video, thank you for watching. I wanted to give a more detailed explanation of my plans for the last 3 videos on this series right here. Everything for video 10 is also recorded, but videos 11 and 12 went way beyond the scope I had planned. Surprise, surprise. So I'm going to go over those 2 projects in a video where I recap a summary of my 2024 projects. I guess I kind of failed the 12 days of December challenge I set for myself. Like I said, I'm gonna post day 10, and like I did complete day 10 just before the end of December, so still counts as my December video, or at least a December project. I can't bring myself to really feel bad about it. I made a ton of stuff I'm really excited about. I was happy to finish out the year posting at least like 8 videos in December. It's not like I made less than 12 models. The Usuki alone contains 14 unique pieces because I am insane and I have to go overboard on everything. The Usuki I used as a reference for this turnaround is Garden Gal Usuki, who I just think is really cute. I didn't want to use Magical Hairy Usuki because the hair would block too much of the sculpt, so I chose a different one. Eventually I'd love to get this gal printed and maybe give her interchangeable clothes and stuff, but for now I'm happy with it. I have so many other projects to work on, I kind of need to chill with the making new ones. Happy New Year, everyone! I hope you're having a great day and week and first 9 days of the new year because it's like day 9 when I'm recording this. And thank you to my Ko-fi supporters, Retro Geek Crafts, Luca, and Zero. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.